General Hospital will reveal must-see moments this week, May 26th to 30th. First, in the aftermath of the 2025 Nurses' Ball, the town of Port Charles found itself ensnared in a new kind of spectacle, one not adorned with sequins and spotlight, but shadowed by betrayal, power struggles, and vengeance brewing behind closed doors. What had begun as a night of celebration descended into scandal when Tracy was publicly arrested on the red carpet. The cameras captured her stunned expression as officers led her away, and the footage quickly circulated through every news channel and gossip column in the city. But beyond the spectacle was a woman who had just been betrayed by someone she once considered an ally. Drew had not only planted ketamine in her car, but he had done so while pretending to collaborate with her in a shared mission, protecting Port Charles from Sonny's ever-growing dominion. Tracy, seasoned in the art of political maneuvering, immediately understood that Drew's betrayal was not spontaneous. It was calculated. It spoke of influence, pressure, or perhaps deeper entanglements that she had yet to uncover. For someone to betray her so coldly, there had to be something, or someone, guiding him. Her suspicion quickly fell on two women who had recently grown closer to Drew, Portia and Nina. While Portia had always been a quiet operator in the background, it was Nina's ambition and history of manipulation that made her the more likely suspect. The way Drew shifted his loyalty, the subtle protection he offered Nina in recent weeks, all pointed to a relationship that went beyond friendship or alliance. As Tracy stewed in a holding cell, the pieces began to fall into place. She remembered the hushed tones exchanged between Drew and Nina at General Hospital, the way his tone softened when he spoke of her, the unexplained absences and late-night texts. It didn't take long for Tracy to reach out to a trusted private investigator, and soon the dots were connected. Receipts, hotel records, and phone logs painted a picture of a secret affair. But it wasn't the affair itself that interested Tracy, it was what she could do with it. Information, after all, was currency, and in Port Charles, a well-timed revelation could destroy careers and shift the balance of power overnight. Once released on bail, Tracy wasted no time. She wasn't just interested in clearing her name, she wanted retribution. And to achieve that, she would need someone equally motivated. That led her to Carly, a woman who shared not only her disdain for Nina but a deeply personal stake in this fight. Carly had long battled Nina over family, control, and the well-being of her children. With Michael now entangled in a tense custody battle over Wiley and Amelia, Tracy knew the affair between Drew and Nina could be the perfect ammunition. Carly, ever the protector, would understand the value of timing, and the explosive effect such a revelation could have if introduced during the custody hearing. Tracy's approach to Carly was methodical. She didn't burst in with accusations or dramatics. Instead, she laid out the evidence, the affair, the betrayal, the manipulation, like a case file. Carly absorbed every detail with growing fury, her protective instincts flaring as she considered what Drew's actions meant for her son. Not only had Drew betrayed Tracy, he had jeopardized Michael's chances in court by aligning himself with someone as controversial as Nina. The two women, often at odds, found common ground in their mutual enemy and began planning their next steps. Tracy would continue gathering evidence while Carly prepared to influence the custody proceedings from within. Meanwhile, Drew remained oblivious to the trap being laid for him. Confident in the silence of his affair, he underestimated the depth of Tracy's wrath and the reach of Carly's network. His relationship with Willow began to show signs of strain, especially as he grew more distracted and evasive. Nina, too, grew nervous, sensing the walls closing in. Her history of secrets and schemes had taught her to recognize when a reckoning was near. But still, she clung to Drew, believing their connection could weather any storm. She had no idea that her enemies were working in tandem, preparing to expose her in the most devastating way possible. The custody hearing, set for June 2nd, loomed over everyone involved. Tracy and Carly debated whether to leak the affair to the press beforehand or wait until the courtroom was filled with lawyers, judges, and reporters. The latter promised a more immediate and dramatic impact, public embarrassment, legal advantage, and emotional devastation all in one blow. But the risk was greater. If Drew or Nina suspected their secret was out, they might attempt to neutralize the threat or spin the narrative to their advantage. Tracy, ever the tactician, leaned toward waiting. Carly, driven by emotion, wanted the world to know now. They struck a compromise: hold until the eve of the hearing, then unleash it in a controlled explosion. As the day approached, tensions in Port Charles ran high. Michael, unaware of the storm brewing on his behalf, focused on preparing for the hearing and protecting his children. Willow, caught between her loyalty to Drew and her lingering connection to Michael, began to unravel emotionally. She sensed something shifting, a current pulling her toward old truths and new betrayals. She didn't know yet that her future was being decided not by the judge or the law, but by two women wielding scandal like a weapon. Tracy and Carly had no intention of letting Drew walk away unscathed, not after what he had done. And so, beneath the polished surface of the town, the real drama churned. The nurses' ball may have concluded, but its aftermath promised to shake Port Charles to its core. With each passing day, the clock ticked closer to revelation. Tracy, once disgraced, now stood poised to reclaim her power. Carly, long underestimated, prepared to strike with precision. Together, they would ensure that Drew and Nina's secret didn't just come to light, it would burn everything around them to ash. Second, as the days in Port Charles stretched toward a climactic turning point, all eyes turned toward the sudden return of Michael, whose presence has loomed over recent events like a storm gathering on the horizon. Audiences caught their first glimpse of him aboard a sleek private jet on Tuesday, May 20th, signaling that his re-entry into the town is not just imminent, it's deliberate, timed, and laden with purpose. With his official return set for the week of May 26th through May 30th, the tension that has long simmered beneath the surface of multiple storylines is about to erupt. But it's not merely the return itself that has fans buzzing, it's who is returning. Rory Gibson, best known to soap audiences as Noah Newman on The Young and the Restless, is stepping into the role of New Michael, promising a refreshed energy and possibly a darker, more resolute take on a character who has quietly carried so much burden and heartbreak. Willow's world, so carefully reconstructed in the aftermath of Michael's long absence, is on the verge of collapse. For weeks she has been navigating a life where her loyalty to Drew has replaced the void Michael left behind. But that stability was built on shaky ground, and now, with Michael's return, everything threatens to unravel. She is no longer simply a wife who moved on, she is now a mother who must make impossible choices, a woman torn between two men, and someone who may soon face the truth about Drew's betrayal. The timing of Michael's arrival, just before the pivotal custody hearing for Wiley and Amelia, could not be more dramatic. What began as a legal dispute over parental rights now morphs into a much larger reckoning of trust, loyalty, and redemption. Michael's determination to reclaim not just custody of his children but the very foundation of his family will likely be unwavering. Gone is the passive, emotionally fragmented man who once walked away from the chaos of Port Charles. In his place returns a version of Michael forged in silence and solitude, one who has had months to reflect on what he lost and what he now must fight for. His reappearance sends ripples across every corner of town, but none feel it more acutely than Willow. Seeing him again, older, changed, with a new depth in his eyes, forces her to confront feelings she has buried and doubts she has tried to silence. The potential discovery of Drew and Nina's affair is poised to become the emotional powder keg that destroys what little illusion remains. If Willow uncovers the truth at the precise moment Michael returns, her carefully managed reality will shatter. Trust, the very currency of her survival, will be bankrupt. She may realize that the man she chose to stand beside in Michael's absence is not the hero she believed him to be, but a man whose loyalties were easily swayed and whose secrets cut deeper than she imagined. And in that void, fragile, disoriented, and betrayed, Willow may find herself seeking out the only person who ever truly fought for her, no matter how flawed or distant he became, Michael. Their reunion, if it leads there, won't be simple or sweet. It will be steeped in tension, sorrow, and unspoken truths. The question is not just whether Willow will run back to Michael, it's whether the two can reignite what was lost and salvage the remnants of their shared history. Can grief, betrayal, and time be overcome by the persistent pull of old love? And if the spark between them reignites, will it be enough to withstand the firestorm of legal battles, public scrutiny, and emotional fallout that looms ahead? Meanwhile, the return of Michael also casts a long shadow over another woman who shares his past and his child, Sasha. Long marginalized and quietly enduring her own heartbreak, Sasha must now brace herself for what Michael's return means for her role in Wiley's life and her place in the broader Corinthos legacy. Her pain has always been quiet but profound. Watching Michael fall into other arms while she mourned alone, while she stood on the sidelines of a family that once promised her everything. The arrival of a new Michael could open old wounds, and depending on how he navigates his divided loyalties, it may either offer her closure or reignite long-suppressed heartbreak. As fans look ahead to the final week of May, the stage is set for one of the most emotionally charged reckonings in recent General Hospital history. Michael's return is more than a character re-entering a story. It's the beginning of a dramatic reshuffling of alliances, a confrontation of past and present, and a possible rebirth of a once unbreakable love. Whether Willow and Michael find their way back to each other or simply stand united for the sake of their children, one thing is certain: Port Charles will never be the same again. Third, as the final week of May approaches, Port Charles braces for a revelation that promises to shake the very foundations of several intertwined lives. With Lulu relentlessly pressing Lois to reveal the truth about Giovanni, the long-guarded secret is teetering on the edge of exposure. For months, the truth had been contained beneath layers of loyalty, silence, and denial, but now, under the weight of Lulu's determination and the unraveling web of lies, the dam is about to burst. The secret that Gio is not just another figure in their lives, but the biological son of Brooke Lynn and Dante, will not stay hidden any longer. The week of May 26th to May 30th will likely witness the collapse of this fragile secrecy in the most dramatic and irreversible of ways. For Brooke Lynn and Dante, the fallout from this revelation will be nothing short of devastating. The realization that they have unknowingly shared their home, their table, and their lives with the son they never knew they had will be emotionally seismic. Every memory, every moment that now takes on a new meaning will haunt them. The disbelief will quickly give way to guilt, guilt over not recognizing their own child, guilt over the lost time, and guilt over the years of unspoken identity that Gio carried in silence. Their entire reality will be rewritten in an instant, and they'll be forced to reckon with the implications of a truth they were never prepared to face. Lois, the keeper of this secret, will face intense scrutiny and condemnation. Her decision to conceal the truth, no matter how well-intentioned or protective, will come under fire from all sides. Her actions will be seen not as maternal instinct, but as betrayal. Especially by Brooke Lynn, who trusted her implicitly, and by Dante, who built his family around a framework that Lois helped construct with careful deception. The emotional whiplash will be brutal. Friends may become foes, and trust will be a scarce commodity as the family grapples with the aftermath of Lois's long-held silence. But perhaps the most volatile emotional storm will erupt within Gio himself. Having lived for months under the same roof as his biological parents, unaware of the depth of his connection to them, he will be thrust into a vortex of confusion, anger, and disillusionment. Every relationship in his life will be called into question. The boy who once sought belonging now finds that the people who shaped his world have been concealing his origins. His identity, once fragile and uncertain, will be shattered and reforged in fire. The betrayal will cut deepest from those he trusted most, and the pressure of public reaction, private grief, and internal chaos may prove overwhelming. Port Charles will bear witness to the emotional carnage that follows. Every interaction between Brooke Lynn, Dante, and Gio will carry the weight of missed years, unanswered questions, and the desperate hope for reconciliation. But reconciliation will not come easily. Gio may reject their attempts at connection, retreat into silence, or lash out in pain. He may see their efforts as too little, too late. His heart, already scarred by years of feeling adrift, may not be quick to forgive the very people who were unknowingly closest to him all along. As the dust settles, the Corinthos, Quatermain, and Falconeri families will be forced to re-evaluate everything they thought they knew. Loyalties will be tested, and relationships will fracture under the strain of raw truth. The community, always quick to react and slower to heal, will become a backdrop for whispered judgments, sympathetic glances, and public spectacle. The story of Gio, once a quiet presence on the fringes, will become the centerpiece of a family saga now rewritten by secrets, sorrow, and the relentless force of truth finally revealed. And so, as truth finally pierces the carefully constructed illusion that had kept Joe's true identity hidden for so long, Port Charles is left forever altered. What began as whispers behind closed doors has become an emotional reckoning that no one can outrun. Brooklyn and Dante must now face the aching reality of what was lost, the birthdays they missed, the milestones never shared, the comfort of knowing their child from the start. But beyond the sorrow lies a fragile, flickering hope. That even through pain, something whole might still be forged. For Lois, redemption may never come easily, yet her love for Gio, however misdirected, is undeniable. And for Gio himself, standing at the crossroads of identity and legacy, this is the beginning of a journey not of anger, but of self-discovery. Whether he walks toward reconciliation or away from the wounds of the past, he does so knowing that his story is no longer hidden. It is his to write. In the quiet that follows the chaos, one truth remains: family, no matter how broken, has a way of enduring. Even when shattered, it still clings to the hope of healing.